Okay, so this is going to be part two of can secular and Orthodox Jews see eye to eye middle ground? If you missed part one, I'll leave it in the card up here and in the description down below. We're about to get into the secular Jewish gentleman's answer to I support Israel in the conflict with Palestine.
I want to support Israel. I love Israel. I want to love it. I want Israel to be a safe place, a safe haven for, Jews and people of all, religions and backgrounds. I'm not saying that I am against Israel, totally pro-Palestinian. I'm just saying that there are things, like you said, that Israel does that in regards to the Palestinian conflict, that I don't agree with at all. I mean, what you were saying about there being no Palestine before, 1924, there may not have been a Palestine in the country, but there was.
Oh, so 1924. I thought he said 1947. Interesting.
A burgeoning and growing Palestinian movement and a Palestinian identity growing
Since
around those
64.
people.
Since 64.
That's not entirely true.
Look at your history.
I have looked at the history. There's a little disagreement on when exactly it started, but there has been a movement among the Arab people in that area to create
because the king of Jordan did not want them anymore in his neighborhood, and the people of Egypt said, "We don't want these people."
I don't think it matters why.
I
I don't think it matters why it happened. It just matters that it happened.
Israel is not causing them to suffer.
That's not entirely true.
You show me.
So, I mean, I kind of agree, I guess, with Joanna there, where it's like, I guess at the time, like looking back, maybe it doesn't matter per se. Like we're here and now, we should be trying to, I guess, people should be trying to fix the conflict like currently. But again, I don't really know what the conflict is about. So, yeah, let's let these guys keep talking.
One policy of Israel that makes the people of these areas suffer.
The settlements, when they appropriate land from the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and then they make the settlements and they make roads and bridges.
Yeah, Israel has opened a controversial road that features a large concrete wall segregating Israel and Palestinian traffic. Oh, wow. Okay. Critics have branded the road highway, saying that plans. Wow. They went that far and they built that? Okay. Interesting.
And transportation that Israeli citizens can use, but the Palestinians cannot use.
Fantastic argument. You're right. So what was the problem before the settlements?
The problem before.
What was the problem?
Why was there
Why was there
terrorism
rioting?
before?
Why was there terrorism before the settlements?
Why
was there a massacre in Hebron before the state of Israel was created?
1927.
Why did the
I'm
Arabs
not saying there was no. I am not saying that there is no groups of Palestinians that have never
Right,
done
so I'm
anything
just saying
wrong.
you can't take a case out of in a vacuum. I wanted to share with you that.
Ooh, okay, this is getting a little bit heated now. So yes, there's definitely always going to be issues within groups, right? You can't just, again, paint them with a broad brush, but also whatever little incident, or not little, I don't know if it's little or not, but whatever incident that they're referring to, I don't know if that should still be an issue for today in terms of what they're trying to accomplish, if they are trying to remove this conflict or not.
When Israel is being attacked, let's assume at the UN, and everyone's coming after Israel, and Israel feels very isolated, I just want you to imagine what Israelis feel like when they hear American Jews being critical of them at that moment. When they're feeling so down, they want their brothers and sisters in America to support them. And when you don't, you have to understand that there's a psychological toll that they feel. And I share that feeling when I see my fellow American Jews not supporting our brothers and sisters in Israel. You defend your family.
But are the Palestinian people not Jewish as well? Or are they considered like of an Arab background? Because there are Arabic Jews, are there not? Or is that something different?
My brother or sister committed a crime, was on death row. I would support them emotionally, but I would hope I would still have the bravery to say what you did was wrong.
I have ancestors who died in the Holocaust?
On my
Oh, I'm surprised the rabbi didn't have any.
grandmother's side, my grandmother's mother, I'm pretty sure had about 7 or 8 siblings that could have been my future like great aunts and uncles who I never got to meet.
Well, growing up in New York, I didn't know anyone who had a full set of grandparents. Pretty much everyone was a second-generation Holocaust survivor. I know that my mother was from Chernovitz, Romania. She was transported to a concentration camp called Transnistria, where the Germans and the local ruffians took great pleasure in beating up and killing Jews. Just this recently over this...
Wow, that's pretty rough. Even here in America, they would just get targeted, eh? I mean, a few of you have said that as well, like the crime. Although from the videos that we've seen with Peter, it seems like the crime is pretty non-existent in the areas. I have seen comments where people say like, you know, people go around, they knock over like the hats that the men are wearing, or, you know, harass them that way. But in terms of like maybe physical crimes, I don't know if those areas are that prevalent for them.
Past Shabbos, I learned my great-grandmother and my grandfather's sister perished at Babi Yar, where the Nazis would line somebody up on a ravine and shoot, and they would fall into a trap. So the Holocaust has very much scarred my psyche.
Yeah, that'll cause quite a bit of trauma for sure. That's a brutal way to be executed, though.
In fact, many times I would even fantasize and think that maybe I'm a reincarnation of someone that died in a concentration camp in a gas chamber, because I have such vivid images etched into my mind, because it burns deeply within me.
What I noticed about the world, we call them Holocaust survivors, the children of Holocaust survivors. I, in my synagogue, use a different word. I call them the rebuilders. Because the way the Jewish nation was in Europe, we were not wealthy. We weren't, you know, we were living in huts. We had small schools. We don't take this kind of things lightly. We rebuild. So I look at that generation, just about all the Holocaust people that came out, they said, how are we going to rebuild? You brought up how your mom was in the Holocaust. When she came out, what was the first thing that she wanted to carry on?
Have babies, have a Jewish family, make up for the loss that Hitler destroyed. Her children were my mother's revenge.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. Her kids were the mother's revenge to Hitler. Yeah, but I mean, I think if anybody comes out of a tragedy, right, that's the main goal, is like rebuild, survive, get back on track, and you know.
Believe it or not, her vindication. I believe that I carry the blood of my ancestors in me, that I have an added obligation to bring honor to their memories who have been perished, and to maintain the faith that they so staunchly defended. So it's not just some footnote in the past, but I believe I'm an ambassador of their values.
Jewish people benefit from white privilege.
Ooh, that's a good question, or a good statement. I guess yes, depending on, I guess, what you look like. But most Jewish people that I've come across, at least in a lot of these videos that we've seen, they typically are presenting very white. This lady is kind of the first non-white Jew we've come across, I think, in most of our videos.
Okay.
America has been playing games where they decided the Irish are now white, the Italians
Yeah.
are now
Exactly.
white, but
Yeah.
200 years ago they were not. I was like 8 or 9 or something, and I was in shul, and I'll never forget, like there were these girls that would always play with this ball. One day I walked up to them and I was like, hey, can I please, like whatever, I want to play with you. And they were like, oh no, your hands are dirty. I was like, no, look, my hands are clean, you know, and I checked.
Oh, that hurts my heart. Kids are so cruel sometimes, and you know, especially when they think racism is funny. I'm sure I was guilty of that kind of stuff when I was younger too, and it sucks. But um, yeah, as I'm getting older, you see these things, you see these kids, you see these videos of people just being rude to other people, and you just think to yourself like, if you just were a little bit older, you had a little bit more knowledge of what you were doing, you wouldn't be doing it, you know?
I'm like, see? And then the girls laughed at me and they were like, ha ha ha, the dirt's all over you. And they said, you're black and dirty. And they laughed and then they ran away. And I was just standing there like, what does that mean? Every day I went to sleep. I woke up. I'm like, please, Hashem, make me lighter like my sister so that they'll like me better.
Oh, that's horrible, and that's terrible. I mean, you know, I'm sure at this point in her life, she's fully accepting of her skin color, and she's a proud black woman or black Jewish woman. But yeah, that's never a good feeling to have.
I just had this ingrown hatred for my own blackness because of what someone else said. And it also led to moments of me not even wanting to be religious anymore.
Mhm.
Well, I disagree with the premise that there is a white privilege to begin with. I don't think in my grandparents' generation in America, when they were denied jobs because they couldn't work on Shabbos, so they didn't have any white privilege. When Jews were not allowed into various law firms,
I don't know if I would consider that not having white privilege. I would think that that's maybe not having religious privilege. Like, people don't recognize that Shabbos, you take the day off, you can't work. I don't think, I think if a black person also was practicing Shabbos, or an Asian person was also practicing Shabbos, they would also probably lose their job, you know? I think that's more of the religious aspect, not so much of his grandparents being white and not having privilege.
I don't see any white privilege there. Growing up in Queens, New York, having my face kicked in by the local ruffians, I think it is a myth. I am not saying that there isn't racism, unfair treatment to minorities in this country. I'm well aware of it, and I litigate it all the time.
If I took off my Jewish jewelry, no one would bat an eye. I live my life as a proud Jew because I want people to recognize my Jewishness, and I don't want anyone to find out after the fact and have maybe regretted hiring me or, things like that. But again, it's recognizing.
But why would anybody regret hiring you just because you're Jewish? I don't know. To me, this doesn't make sense. Like, to implant that into your head, like, oh, if I don't wear my Jewish necklace, then they won't think that I'm Jewish, and then later on, if I put on a Jewish necklace, they'll realize I'm Jewish and then regret hiring me. I don't know. To me, that doesn't make much sense.
The fact that I pass as a white person in my life, it's hard to recognize what you don't experience.
I think part of it is it's sort of like white privilege doesn't mean you don't have hardships or have struggles or can have terrible things happen to you. It just means that in America currently, struggles that are hardships that you go through, white people don't go through them because they're white. They go through them for a myriad of other reasons.
I grew up in Crown Heights where I was a minority.
Look at that. We got it. Crown Heights.
My parents were very poor. I was given a trip by my uncle to come down to Florida in the 60s. It was the first time I ever saw, we do not serve blacks, dogs, and Jews, and I was on the bottom of the level. I want this country to be what Martin Luther King said: you shall be judged not by the color of your skin, but by your actions. If we in America have a problem keeping to that message and constantly saying what Martin Luther King said, then we're off topic.
There's a thing in America called redlining. It has maintained the
Yeah, redlining, that I think that usually happened in a lot of like southern states, I want to say, but maybe it was all around. Redlining discriminatory practice for service. I wouldn't say, I guess, I don't know if redlining still happens today in America, but maybe within the Jewish areas, you could maybe consider that redlining, because like it's very segregated in terms of like, if you're ultra Orthodox, you're like Williamsburg, and then if you're more chill, then you're Crown Heights, and I don't know. I'm sure you could intermingle, but
Division between different ethnic groups in America ever since the Civil Rights Act was passed. And what that means is that if you live in a certain zip code and you are from a certain race or ethnic group, you cannot get a loan, you cannot get a mortgage, you cannot move out of there.
And why aren't there
And
laws to prevent this?
the-
Why is the
Redlining are the laws that were created to make this happen.
So
It's
let's
let me
make
finish
America a
it.
better place.
You're from Crown Heights, you should know redlining exists there.
Excuse me?
oh, shots fired. Okay. So, kind of what I just said, no?
You should know
There
redlining.
is no redlining.
Redlining exists there, and
Crown
let
Heights.
me explain this to you. Redlining maintains and creates anti-Semitism and anti-blackness. How
We
that
were
works.
together. I grew up there.
How that
I played
Please
basketball.
just let her finish. Please let her finish. Please let her finish.
She's using my hood. That's why I'm.
Yeah, well, also
I'm
mine. That's where I was
protecting my hood.
born.
Oh, she's also from Crown Heights. Okay. So we have a white Jewish person from Crown Heights and a black Jewish person from Crown Heights who have two different views of living in the same area. This is awesome.
So the Crown Heights that I grew up in was rough and tumble, yes. But when there was the rioting, I got to tell you something.
Crown Heights riot was a race riot that took place in August 19th. So it's a 2-day riot in 1991. Okay.
There was a black man sitting in front of my porch. I don't know why, but he was my neighbor, and he didn't want me to get hurt. And I got to tell you something. We embraced, we loved, we had dinner together. The Crown Heights I grew up in was humanity.
What does it mean to be a Jewish person in USA?
Being a Jewish person in America today means consistently dealing with anti-Semitism and never seeing any repercussions for it, which is why I believe that it is more important than ever to be proud of being a Jew in spite of the spikes in anti-Semitism.
Anti-Semitism
I like that. I like that mindset. I hate that the anti-Semitism is still there. But in terms of anti-Semitism, isn't a Semite somebody who either like spoke or speaks like a Jewish or Arabic language, like the people who spoke that?
has increased in the US in recent years.
I can't answer this because I'm not Jewish, or I don't. Obviously, I can't deal with this. So let's hear what they say.
I agree, especially where I'm from in Brooklyn. I kind of grew up seeing anti-Semitism, especially even though I was a child. My first experience with it was, of course, the riots. And if you were Orthodox, you felt it because you're like an identifiable Jew. But if you weren't, you didn't know what was going on. And now it's so out of control that even people who don't look Orthodox experience it daily. So yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, I run a Jewish Instagram page, and when you look up Jewish on Instagram, mine is one of the first things that comes up. So, of course, we invite the trolls and the anti-Semites. And there was this one instance where these two 13-year-old boys were commenting all over my post saying, "I wish your grandparents died in the ovens."
Oh gosh. And this is what I'm talking about with young kids who say stupid stuff and do stupid things. Like, you would never say that. Obviously, they're saying it online, right? Which is another problem with social media. You would never say that to somebody in their face. Like, I wish your grandparents died in the oven. Like, that's ridiculous.
Agreed with Hitler. You know, these are two 13-year-old boys. Where did they learn this?
Because of social media, people can hide behind the screen,
Yeah,
people can hide,
exactly.
and they don't have to in your face. For years, I had a radio show on KFI radio here in LA, and then from time to time, somebody would call in and say, "I'm not an anti-Semite, but..."
Yeah, yeah.
The moment they said that I'm not an anti-Semite, it says, "Let me recorrect you. You're an anti-Jew." If we took the word anti-Semite out and say, No, you're anti-Jew. Do you know how hard it is for them to defend themselves? Anti-Semite's a cool word. It's not so bad. I'm just an anti-Semite.
You know,
It's
I
an
never thought about it like that.
You know what?
anti-Jew.
You're so
You know,
right.
what you're saying, like this is also something very new that we're doing that started on
so
social
right.
media as well. In the past year, what some people who are definitely anti-Jewish would say is, "How can I be anti-Semitic? I'm a Semite."
I'm a Semite.
So
Arabic.
we
Exactly.
started
All the
using,
time.
we
Yeah.
started,
Do
yeah,
that.
You're
exactly.
anti-Jew.
So what we
Yeah.
started, yeah. So the
Anti-Jew.
term
Yeah, okay. So how can I be anti-Semite if I'm Arabic? Yeah, because isn't that what a Semite is? Somebody, like I said?
terminology that we have been deciding to use now moving forward is anti-Jew hatred.
Anti-Jew.
We are God's chosen people.
Well, I don't see how any of them could not move forward.
People always talk about Jerusalem being like the holy city. And I always tell people, I was born in Jerusalem, so that makes me a holy bitch.
We're chosen, but our purpose in this world, because some people misinterpret it
I've just noticed her name. Elisheva? Elisheva? That's a nice name.
as privilege or that we
Yeah.
think we're better than people. No. Our purpose in this world is to be a light to the world.
Let's get to the crux of what chosen really means. When God created Adam and Eve, God gave them a religion. The religion was 7 commandments to live by. When the world was destroyed because the world wasn't living by these 7, God came to Abraham and says, I'm choosing you and your children to do 613 commandments. So what does it mean?
Whoa, 613? Wow, okay. I just was under the impression that there was 10. That's what we have, the 10 commandments, right? Is the 613 also included in those 10? Like are those 10, sorry, are those 10 included in the 613?
Really to be chosen? I got a bigger job for you.
Christians believe that only Christians go to heaven and everyone else goes to hell. Jews don't believe that.
I mean, I can't speak for all Christians. I don't think that. I think, if I were to look at it from a religious point of view, I think that if you're a good person, then you go to heaven. If you're not, then you don't. But, do I believe in an afterlife? Probably not. I don't know. But again, if I had more of a religious background or faith driven, maybe. I think that's a bit of a blanket statement by him. I'm not defending Christians by any way. Maybe there are some Christians that believe that, but at least the ones that I know, I don't think that they're ever like, oh, Jews aren't going to go to heaven, or whoever else aren't going to go to heaven.
So when we say we're the chosen people, we're not saying that we're the only ones that are good enough to go to heaven. Like you're saying, we just have more, a bigger job to do.
When I see a general in an army with all of his medals on his lapel, and I keep thinking about how proud he is to be a member of his army, and he wears his medals with pride, I keep thinking, as a Jew, I wear my medals with pride. And what comes to mind in response to the prompt is the prayer that we say on the holidays. I'll say it in Hebrew, and then I'll translate it in English. Ata v'chartanu mikol ha'amim. You chose us above all nations. Ahavta isanu. You love us. V'ratzisa banu. And you desire us. V'romamtanu mikol al shanos. And you raised us up above all other nations. There's a love affair between God and the Jewish people. I think it's very, very important that we maintain our pride. We wear our medals with pride. We don't apologize for who we are. And we do the best that we can.
I'm going to say it was a pleasure exposing the Jewish community to the world.
Hine ma tovu manoim shavas achim gam yachad. How beautiful it is when everyone can sit together and talk.
Baruch Hashem.
Oh, there you go. See, that's what I love. Everyone could sit together. We could all talk.
Baruch Hashem.
Well, that was awesome. Very, very nice. Jubilee hitting it off again. As always, you guys let me know what you thought about this in the comment section below. If you enjoyed it, if you didn't, if you have a point of view, if you want to comment, whatever the case may be, don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying the content, and leave a like on the video so I know that you guys are enjoying it, and I will catch you on the next video. Thanks.